Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be going over the best binds for every type of non-claw controller player. And the way we're going to be doing that is by taking a look at 10 different sets of binds from top controller pros. To ensure that every type of player is covered here, we're going to be looking at 4 sets of binds for non-claw, non-paddle players, since the majority of non-claw players play like that. Then we're going to look at 2 sets of binds each from 1 paddle, 2 paddle, and 4 paddle players. The only reason I didn't include any 3 paddle players is honestly because I couldn't find a single pro level controller player that uses 3 paddles, so I think it's a safe assumption that almost nobody plays like that. Timestamps will be on the screen for each section, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so we're going to start with our non-claw, non-paddle players, and the first one is Bully. So starting off with the combat section, Bully uses A/X for jump, Y/triangle for pulling out his pickaxe, touchpad for edit, and then everything else other than that is pretty much standard, like B/circle for switch mode and X/square for reload. Then when we get into the editing section, the most important ones here are R2/RT to select the squares while editing, touchpad to confirm the edit, and right stick/R3 to reset any edits. Now normally using the same bind for edit and confirm edit like Bully does is a pretty significant disadvantage, but he actually uses confirm edit on release, so it doesn't really hurt him. Overall, other than maybe touchpad edit, those are very vanilla and sort of typical binds for non-claw, non-paddle players. The next no-paddle player we're going to look at is Furious, and his binds are a lot more unique. So in the first section, he also uses touchpad edit, he uses L3/left stick to jump, R3/right stick for switch mode, A/X is crouch button, B/circle is repair, and finally Y/triangle to pull out pickaxe. So some of these binds are super unorthodox, but they're pretty much as optimized as possible for a non-claw, non-paddle player. Jumping left stick means that he can jump and aim at the same time, which simply isn't possible if you use A/X as your jump button. And as weird as right stick switch mode may seem on the surface, that means that he can pull out his building menu while pre-aiming his crosshair to where he wants the pieces to place, and that obviously isn't possible if you use the standard B/circle. Now obviously the main negative here is that crouching in fights would be really weird and probably borderline impossible to do, but I'm sure he just doesn't really do that all that much. Then in the editing section, he uses R2/RT to select edits, R1/RB to reset them, and then right stick/R3 to confirm them. So much more standard here, but I do find it interesting that all 3 of his main binds used for editing are on the right side of his controller. Our third non-claw, non-paddle player is BH Reload. In the combat section, he uses L3/left stick edit, R3/right stick for jump, A/X for crouch, B/circle for switch mode, and for some reason he has left on the D-pad instead of Y for toggle pickaxe, but who really cares about that? So this is really similar to what we just saw with Furious. The main difference is that he uses right stick for jump instead of left stick, and I think the main reason for that is because since he's on Xbox, he can't use touchpad edit, so he needed his left stick for edit, and therefore the only stick left for jumping was right stick. They also both share that kinda uncommon A/X crouch bind that I talked about here as well. And then when we get into the editing section, again, more plain here, RT/R2 to select the edits, LT/L2 to confirm them, and then RB/R1 to reset them. The fourth and final non-claw, non-paddle player is Wavy Jakob. In the combat section, he uses L3/left stick for edit, his jump button is A/X, switch mode is circle/B, toggle pickaxe is Y/triangle, and he has opening the map bound to his touchpad. And then when you go into the edit section of the binds, he selects the squares while editing with RT/R2, he confirms with LT/L2, and he resets with R3/right stick. So when it comes to playing non-claw, non-paddle, there are basically 2 main options. You can either just keep jump on A/X and live with the disadvantages it brings you, or you can switch it to either left or right thumbstick. And the 4 non-claw, non-paddle players we looked at here were evenly split 2-2 between those 2 options. So it really just comes down to how much you care about the game and if you're willing to go that extra mile to learn a totally new set of binds. When it comes to the editing binds though, non-claw non-paddle isn't really any different than non-claw with paddles. If you're on Xbox, most people are going to use left stick edit, and if you're on PS4, you can either use left stick or touchpad edit. They're both strong options. Most players will use R2/RT to select edits, RB/R1 or right stick/R3 are the most popular reset edit binds, and then for confirm, LT/L2 is probably the most common option, but RB/R1 and right stick/R3 are also very viable as well. The next type of binds that we're going to cover are one paddle binds. And I'm going to try to sort of breeze through these because I think one paddle binds are by far the most simple. So the first one paddle player that we're going to cover is Hardfine. He uses left stick/L3 edit, A/X jump, Y/triangle for his pickaxe, and then pretty much everything else in this section is standard. And what's also standard is the fact that his one paddle is bound to jump. It's really as simple as this. If you're only going to use one paddle, you definitely want to bind that paddle to your jump button. There's really no other option that's even going to come close to helping you as much as paddle jumping does. And then in the editing section, Hardfine uses R2/RT to select edits, R1/RB to reset them, and then B/circle to confirm edits. Then the other one paddle binds I'm going to include in here are my own because I think they're about as standard as possible. I use left stick/L3 edit, Y/triangle for toggle pickaxe, and then A/X for jump, but as I mentioned, that's obviously bound to a paddle. Then for the edit control section, I use LT/L2 to reset edits, RT/R2 to select edits, and then RB/R1 to confirm edits. So like I alluded to, no crazy binds whatsoever because I typically like to keep things as simple as humanly possible. So moving on to the two paddle players, which based on my research of controller pros actually seems to be the most common amount of paddles. Our first two paddle player is Coop, and his binds are actually pretty vanilla as a whole. He uses left stick/L3 to edit, A/X to jump, and Y/triangle for his pickaxe. And this seems like a good point to mention that he uses a lower left side paddle for jump, so A/X, and then a lower right side paddle for switch mode, so B/circle. Then in the editing section, he uses RT/R2 to select edits, RB/R1 to reset edits, and then B/circle to confirm edits, but he also uses edit on release, so his confirm button probably isn't used all that much. The other two paddle player on our list is Plowism. He uses left stick/L3 to edit, A/X to jump, Y/triangle to pull out his pickaxe, and then everything else here is pretty standard. Speaking of standard, he uses left side paddle for jump and his right side paddle for switch mode, aka pulling out his building menu, so literally the exact same two paddle setup as Coop. And in the editing section, he uses RT/R2 to select edits, LT/L2 to confirm them, and then right stick/R3 to reset edits. So based on these results, it definitely seems like the best two paddle setup is to make sure one of your paddles is bound to your jump button and the other paddle is bound to switch mode. Now let's get into the binds for players that use four paddles. The first four paddle player that we're going to be looking at is Colazzo, and keep in mind these binds might look a little weird until you know his paddles. So he uses B/circle to edit, A/X to jump, X/square for switch mode, Y/triangle for crouch, and then left stick/L3 for toggle pickaxe. So with his four paddles, the two on the left side of his controller are bound to jump and edit, and then the two on the right side are bound to switch mode and crouch/confirm edit. So that's kind of a preview of what you'll see here in the editing section. He uses R2/RT to select, L2/LT to reset, and then Y/triangle to confirm, but again, that's bound to a paddle. Then our other four paddle player is AV. He uses touchpad to edit, and no, that's not a mistake. He plays on a PS4 controller, but uses Xbox input, so that's why you see an Xbox controller. Then he uses A/X for jump, B/circle for crouch, left on on the D-pad for switch mode, and finally, toggle pickaxe is left stick /L3. For his 4 paddles, his left 2 are jump and reload, and then his right 2 are switch mode and then crouch /confirm. His editing binds are RT/R2 to select, RB/R1 to reset, and then B/circle to confirm, but again, bound to a paddle. So for as crazy as 4 paddle binds may look, Collazo and AV use mostly the same things. When it comes to the 4 paddles, they both use one for jump, switch mode, and crouch/confirm edit. The only difference is that Collazo uses 4th paddle for edit, and AV uses his for reload. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to let me know with a comment down in the comment section below. Let me know whether you're a NonClaw non-paddle player or a NonClaw player with paddles. Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.